I'm going to let Crystal take a few minutes to share a couple things with you. And we'll go from there.
Awesome. Okay, hi everybody in here. Hi everybody online. So I have 2 tips today. They're kind of geared towards buyers. So the first one is the life of a real estate transaction. That can be somewhat applicable to seller, but mainly to buyers. It just talks about the life of when it starts finding your agent all the way to closing. If you have any questions, I can go into more details with you guys, but I like to make it short and simple so Russ can start his day.
So take a few minutes.
Take a few minutes? All right, I will take a few minutes today. I know online you don't have this. Russ will send it out to you guys. So the first thing on here is find a real estate agent. You'll notice on a lot of my stuff that I hand out, I always talk about real estate agents because you guys are a key component. And I always think that for sale by owners always have some sort of mess in them. So I'm always encouraging people to have, a real estate agent. And so it starts with finding your agent and lender, find your home, and then once you sign your contract, open it right away with escrow. I've said this multiple times throughout your training. When I come in to talk, it's so important to get that open as soon as possible. And then it goes into property inspections, needing repairs. And then in between all of this, while you guys are working the back end, title is doing their thing, doing their searches, clearing title, working with the other title company if it's in Utah, and then preparing that title commitment. Title commitment should be to you guys within a 48-hour window of opening escrow. If it's not getting to you that quickly, definitely talk to your title company to see how you can get it faster, because that should be a good turnaround time. If the property is in a rural area, or it's like a very, very tiny county, that is a 1 to 2 week turnaround time for prelims. Just because they're not online, it's best to physically drive down there and go through their paper archives to create the search. And then promptly always respond to information requests right away. I have sellers that delay days and days and days, if not a week or 2. I'm like, hey, I need to order your payoff. Like, let's get this going. So definitely be on top of your client. If you see paperwork go out, be like, hey, sign this, especially when CDs get sent out, get on them, sign it so we can start that 3-day rescission. Hey. And then the loan docs and closing paperwork. So that's where the lender will send documents to title. Title will then start the signing process, create the rest of the documents, and that's when we finish out the whole transaction. Once everything's recorded, you guys get to make the fun phone call and hand the keys out. So that's the life of the transaction. The other handout I have today is closing day. This is geared towards your, the first page is geared towards your buyer and seller. So it's valid identification. A lot of people have trouble with this one. People walk in with expired IDs. And other identification that we can't take. So it's kind of a short list of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And on the back side of it, it's a 2-page thing, talks about what is good funds, hazard insurance, another part, and about parties holding title. So it's just a really quick kind of tip to know, just read it over once and it's in your brain forever kind of thing. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I have lots of tools for you guys as agents too. Checklists, cleaning checklists, any information about title, of course, about lenders, about even your guys' process. So I do have a lot of helpful tools, especially for you guys as agents. In a couple weeks, Sam and I will be hosting the PR class. In that class, I'll hand out how to read a PR and a cheat sheet on how to read a CD. So when you guys review your closing disclosure, when the title company sends it over, you know exactly what you're looking for and what you need to fix contractually. If you guys have any questions right now, none, good to go. Okay, awesome. All right.
Thanks, Crystal. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So we are going to, in fact, I just saw that Heather put a note in the chat box that said she can't believe that I'm here because it's the opening day of baseball. So Heather, don't worry, we will get done quick so that I can go home and watch baseball, because that is the plan. So, I don't know why I'm echoing. Is it echoing still? Nope. Okay, we're good. All right. So here's what we're going to talk about today. So today's going to be talking about working your sphere of influence. Here's what I will tell you. If this business does not get easier for you over time, you're doing something wrong. Because over time, what should happen is the business should get simpler and start to just come to you easier and easier and easier. And if it's not, it's because you're not working a sphere of influence. So I'm going to teach you guys today how to do that. Now, I'm going to do this in a little bit different approach than what people typically would teach in terms of that. And what I mean by that is I am going to give you a process that is 100% guaranteed to work. 100%. Meaning, like, of everything I ever teach, if you did nothing else that I ever taught, if you'll do just this, what we're going to talk about today, it'll work. Guaranteed. So, and I say that because it is a math problem. And I'll show you what I mean by that is it's not working a sphere of influence is not a people problem. It's a math problem. And I'll show you what that looks like. Now, we're not going to do a lot of math, but I'm going to show you some things that if you will follow. I'm going to give you 4 protocols. What's a protocol?
Policy that you follow, procedure. System.
Good. Yeah. So think about a protocol being a required condition. So a protocol is more than it's not just a rule. This is a required condition. So when I say I'm going to give you 4 protocols, it's if you will do these 4 things, it is 100% guaranteed to work, but you can't round the corners on it. You have to do it the way that I'm going to teach you to do it. And it's not difficult. That's the thing. It is not a difficult thing. And in fact, actually, Brandon, to some extent, part of if you had your team take the concept, and I'll explain it to you as we go. If your team would take the concept of this and incorporate it into the internet leads, it will 100% guaranteed to work. But you got to follow these 4
That's why I'm here today.
steps. That's what I thought. So good. All right, which I don't know what the deal is. Like, I was in here earlier doing morning ascent and it was not hot. And all of a sudden now, like, it's
Probably all the people in
warm. I've taught in this room for 5 years, or 4 years in this room with more people than this. And I don't know what the deal is.
Well, as the sun comes
I was
up,
gonna
it
say
gets
it's-
hotter outside, Russ. And then
I think it is
the
they've still got the furnace on versus the air conditioner, I guess.
That's kind of what happened.
All right, so here's what we're going to do, though. So as we get into this, I first have to explain a couple of things to you here. So let me get my screen share going here. So I'm going to give you the math problem and show you how this works and how to do this to where you can make it work for you. And as I said, if you do nothing else, and actually, let's even go back to the last week in class. The first thing that I had told you guys about in terms of prospecting is identify 2 or 3 sources that you're going to prospect and then stick with it. Well, one of them has to be sphere of influence. Okay. Now, that's what I'm going to show you here is how to do this with the sphere of influence. But before that, I first want to make sure you guys really even understand, because many of you have just recently completed real estate school. Sorry, I gotta try to fix my line here. And in real estate school, they taught you how to go out and sell real estate, right?
No.
So what did they teach you?
How to pass the test regulation.
Essentially, how to pass the test. That's it, right? They didn't teach you how to go make money. They taught you how to pass the test. So I'm going to now teach you how to really go make money. Now, in real estate school, they taught you what makes someone a client. Now, that's where we're going to start with today. So we first have to, so we're going to talk about quickly clients and then what we'll call here prospects. Okay. And then the third area is going to be the SOI. So I'm going to quickly go through clients and prospects because you have to understand that in order to really understand the sphere of influence piece. What makes someone a client?
Buyer, broker,
Okay, good. So in real estate school, what you learned is they have to sign an agency agreement in order for them to be your client, right? Now, that's great. And that is part of it. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. When I talk about a client, we're going to talk about how do you get paid? How do you make sure you get paid by a client? And a buyer broker is part of it. A buyer broker is going to be part of you getting paid for sure. But that's not necessarily what makes somebody a client from a legal standpoint, yes. But doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get paid just because you have it. So I'm going to give you 4 things. So we're going to talk 4 things for SOI, but before I'm going to give you 4 in terms of the client. Okay. So the first thing that has to happen is I'm going to abbreviate what I write up here on the board, but I'm going to tell you guys how to write it down. So the first thing is they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. So that's how I would say for you guys to write it down. In order for somebody to be a client, they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. Now, what does that mean?
Could mean, yeah, having a buyer broker agreement or listing agreement, or just, I guess, word of mouth.
Good. Good. So here's the thing. Typically, the way that they demonstrate that they're committed to working exclusively with you is to sign the buyer broker, which is why we want them to do that. But is it possible for somebody to be committed to working exclusively with you and they haven't signed a buyer broker yet?
Yeah.
Is it possible somebody signed a buyer broker, but they're not committed to working exclusively with you?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the buyer broker in and of itself, as important as it is, and it is, meaning like we need to get it signed and should be doing it quick, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything beyond meaning, yes, they're committed legally, but what I'm saying is they need to be committed to working exclusively with you. So the whole point of what we did on needs analysis, the first part of this week, was all about getting them to be committed to working exclusively with you. Make sense? Okay, so that's the first thing. What else? Now, these get harder as we go, so I may have to help you more and more each one. But what other things would a client have to have, be, or do in order for you to make sure you get paid? And again, don't think real estate school. Just think like reality. Okay. Okay, good. I like, so good. It's along the lines of crystallizing and it's along the lines of closing as well.
They're qualified.
So when they, okay, good. Yes, that's part of it. So here's how I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it as need, but I'll tell you how I want you to write it down. Okay. How I want you to write it down is they have clear and present needs that can be met. So in order for somebody to be your client, to be a client, they have to have clear and present needs that can be met. So when Swen said they have to crystallize, yeah, they have to have clear and present needs. They have to know what it is that they're looking for. So that's the clear and present needs. They have to know what it is that can be met. And then that would, Aaron, go to, they have to qualify. They got to be qualified to do it. So clear and present needs that can be met. They have to know what it is they want. They have to be clear about it, and they have to be able to have the ability to do it, or it has to exist. Okay, so that's clear and present needs that can be met. Okay, next, number 3. I told you these get harder each one. Any other thoughts? It actually, maybe I'm confusing you by saying it's harder because it's really not harder, but you're not, typically people don't think of it, I guess. All right, how about this? They have to be committed to buying or selling now. So when's now?
Next 3 months, next 6 months.
Okay, good. Any other thoughts? Now.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna be out there doing showings with them and spending my time with them, they have to be just as prepared to put an offer in as I am.
Good. Okay, good. So here's how I think about it, is they have to be prepared to buy now or sell now. And now to me means it ties up to number 2. Number 2 is they have to have real and present needs that can be met, or clear and present needs that can be met. Well, as soon as we find one of those clear and present needs, they'll do it. That's what now means. So it's not necessarily a time frame as much as it is, this is what you said you want, here's where it is, do it. Like that's now.
Because if not, they could be in like prospects or they could be in SOI.
Correct.
They're not
That's right.
a client today.
Good, perfect. You're right on. So that's where we're headed. All right, and then number 4 is more about managing of a client. Now, how should we manage our clients? And I know I'm asking that a little obscure, and I'm intentionally doing that. But.
Set the right expectations.
Okay, good. Set it good. I like setting expectations. Communication, love it. We're not there yet, but good ideas.
We're just asking them all the right questions to understand that.
Okay.
And
Good.
able to kind of guide them.
Yeah. So, and I probably maybe didn't ask that as clearly. So here's how I'm gonna write it down, and then I'll tell you what you to put. So they have to be now all of a sudden I went blank on how to spell it. How do you spell tethered?
TATHER.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. They have to be tethered. I don't know why, but I was blank on, I was like not thinking I would do it without, isn't it without the A?
Yeah, it's without the
I was gonna say, I was thinking it was no A.
Teeter.
Yeah, I was like, something's not, still not looking right there. All right. Tethered. All right, you get the point, okay? Now, here's what I mean by tethered.
Still the smartest guy in the room, it's okay.
It's what?
Said you're still the smartest guy in the room, it's okay.
Oh, I don't know if that's true, but they have to be tethered. How would we tether a client to us? Now, typically you're gonna think through the buyer broker, but that's not it. How do we
That's
tether?
the relationship, like the connection.
Okay,
Yeah, rapport, just
I like your thinking. It's wrong, but I like your thinking.
Get on the contract.
By listening.
Okay, so here's how we're gonna tether. Think about tethering, like when you were a kid at school, your elementary school probably had a tether ball thing
Yeah.
where there's a pole and, you know,
Punch 'em.
so if, what? Yeah, you punch your client, yeah, no. We might want to sometimes, but no, so the way we're gonna tether our clients is through appointments. So here's how sometimes what I will do is sometimes before we start this whole client thing, I'll say to you, who has a client? And have you raise your hand. And then I say, okay, now let's see if you really have a client. So to some extent, I would ask you to think about people that you have as a client right now, or that you would consider a client, and ask yourself, are they committed to working exclusively with you? And if they are, great, they're still a client. Do they have clear and present needs that can be met? If yes, then they're a client. Are they prepared to buy or sell now? Meaning like once you find the property, or if it's a seller that they're ready to go now, then if so, then yes, you have a client. Then the last one where people usually lose them is, do you have an appointment scheduled with them right now? See, here's what I'm saying. You should never leave an appointment with a client without scheduling the next appointment. So you go out and meet with somebody to show them properties. Before you leave, schedule the next appointment. Now, you might sometimes be wondering, well, what am I going to schedule the appointment for? I don't know what I'm going to schedule it for. You'll figure it out. I mean, to some extent, what I'm saying is you will not have clients that disappear on you, move on, if you'll follow this process of never leave an appointment with a client without scheduling another appointment. And it doesn't have to be for tomorrow. Your appointment could be 2 weeks out or 3 weeks. But for me, I usually say don't go longer than a month without an appointment with a client. No matter what, don't leave an appointment with a client without scheduling the appointment. Because the moment you do, then that's where I would say all of a sudden now we're having to cross this one off, which means for me, you don't have a client anymore. You now have what I would call a prospect. So think of it this way. So what Aaron said is right on. A prospect is deficient in one or more of these. So a prospect is missing one of these 4 items. So stop and think about it now. So you get on the phone with a lead, okay, and you're calling them. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is get them to set an appointment with you, right? So that you can get them to be committed to working exclusively with you, so that you can, and at that appointment, you can find out what their clear and present needs are and to find out if they're ready to do it now. As you go and meet with them, or let's even say maybe you haven't met with them, you have somebody that you feel like they've told you on the phone, yep, I'll use you when we buy or sell. Okay, great. So now check, we got that box. They have clear and present needs that can be met. Yes. They're ready to do it now. Yes, but I don't have an appointment with them. Okay, so if you don't have an appointment with them, then I'm telling you, now I get it from the state, the Division of Real Estate is going to tell you, well, you have a client if they've signed the buyer broker or the agency agreement, right? They're going to say, you've got a client, which is from a legal standpoint, that's true. I'm just telling you from my perspective, if you don't have an appointment with that person, they're not a client, they're a prospect. So tethering is all about managing clients. So how are we going to manage a prospect then? Because now remember, what defines a prospect is that they are missing one of these things. So let me say it a little bit differently to make sure you understand. A prospect is always in the becoming of a client. Your whole objective, or think of it this way, we could call this up here lead, okay? The whole point of you having a lead or a prospect is to get them to become a client. Am I wrong? That's what we're trying to do, is get them to become a client. So your objective is to try and get this to take place, that they're now going to become committed to working exclusively with you, have clear and present needs that can be met, ready to buy now, and that you have an appointment. But if you're missing the appointment, now they're a prospect. So how am I going to manage prospects? Because it's not through appointments, because I don't have an appointment. So how am I going to manage a prospect? Say it again.
Their needs.
Through their needs.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just see the arrows.
Well,
That's, oh no, yeah, sorry, no, the arrow's just poorly pointed at needs. What'd you say, Aaron?
Well, I mean, two things come to my mind. It's just, I was just thinking lead follow-up, but then you're constantly just trying to.
Okay, good. No, you're right on. That's exactly right. So it's going to be through lead follow-up, which looks like what? What does lead follow-up look like?
I mean, you set an appointment for yourself to call them. And
Okay, good. Call, how often?
Every day.
So I guess what,
As often as you tell them.
so yes, every day, but yeah, the challenge with every day is if I have somebody who said to me, yes, I'm ready to buy, we have clear and present needs that can be met, we're ready to go now, but I don't have an appointment. Well, let me rephrase that.
That's your fault.
You have somebody who has clear and present needs that can be met. They're committed to working, or you're not sure they're committed to working exclusively with you, and you call them every day. What's going to happen?
they're gonna get more.
Yeah. So to some extent, what Brandon said is more so of like kind of, you're going to call them at whatever frequency you've agreed to. But here's what I would say is you need to be doing it at least one time per week. So if you have somebody who is committed to working exclusively with you, they have clear and present needs that can't be met, or that can be met, they're ready to go now, but you don't have an appointment with them, you should be talking to them at least once a week on the phone to do a fault. Hey, just wanted you to know, I'm still checking. I mean, especially in today's market, trying to find a property for you, but there's just nothing out there. But I just wanted you to know, I haven't forgotten about you. So we're going to manage these prospects by calling once a week until they become a client, or until they become what we're going to talk about next, or what?
Until they ghost.
Or until they ghost you, yes.
One
Or till you drop.
One thing I think works really well at that stage too, is when you find out what they need, is just sending them houses, text them to them. And if you need to do that, if new houses hit the market every day, then so be it. They're not going to be annoyed to just say, hey, this came up. I thought
Right.
of it. But if that's not at that point, then you think only once a week, unless there's value, I guess.
Yeah, that's the key thing, is if there's value to doing it sooner. Like I said, there are going to be scenarios that if you've talked to them, that it makes sense that you're doing it more often than once a week. But I'm saying don't ever let a week go by without calling them. Does that make sense? So anybody that you have talked to that's not a client yet, that's still working that, what you would consider to be a lead, it should be a minimum of once a week. Okay. Now, once they're a client, it's going to be whatever it is. Now, the last area over here, I sometimes just like to jokingly say, these are the suspects. These are people that we suspect, but really it's SOI. Okay. I usually get a laugh out of that, and I got nothing.
See, giggles?
Okay, thanks, Miriam. I appreciate it.
Small giggle.
Okay, thanks, Miriam. You can go get a donut.
To clarify, small.
I need all this.
Yeah.
Small giggle.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, you can have a bite of a donut then. All right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. The rest of this class is going to be about how do we work the people in this area. And I'm going to give you 4 protocols that define how to do it, okay, and how to go about it. But it's important that you first understand what we are doing. The whole process of us prospecting, which is why I always put this as the prospects, is we're trying to get people to become a client. And if you will just think of what you're trying to do is get people to be committed to working exclusively with you, have clear and present needs that can be met, and find the people who are ready to go now, and then keep an appointment with them, you'll do a deal if you do that. But if they don't meet that criteria, then stay in touch at least once a week with them until they become this, or until they become this. And so this is the piece we're going to talk about, or you just flat out drop them. You just decide yeah, I'm not working with them anymore for whatever reason. Okay. That's what but for the rest of what we're going to talk about today is this SOI suspects piece. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'm going to try something different here. So I had mentioned to you guys that the management or the working of your sphere of influence is a math problem. So I'm going to show you a video here real quick. I got to get it pulled up though. I just realized I didn't get it before class. So I'm going to show you guys a video here. Now, remember I said that this is a math problem. So we're now going to spend a little bit of time doing some math stuff. Now, for you guys that don't like math, don't worry, because it's not that, I mean, we're not doing, it's simple, I promise, okay? It's not going to be difficult math. But we're going to spend a little bit of time for me to explain that to you. Now, before we do that, though, I got to show you this video that, because you're going to feel like I'm doing math like what I'm going to show you in this video right here, okay? So let me get this pulled up and ready to go for you here. Okay. So now let me define it as I pull it up here. So most of you guys are not old enough. I've done a lot of that this week. I must be getting old because I keep going. You guys aren't old enough to remember this, but there used to be a sitcom on TV that back before TV was even in color. So this is before my time even, at least that I remember. But I'm going to show you a video clip from Ma and Pa Kettle. You guys ever heard of Ma and Pa? Yeah. So this is a Ma and Pa Kettle video, which you guys, most of you probably don't know who it is, but that's okay. You'll still get it. Okay, so here we go. Oh, shoot.
I figure 75% to you, Pa and Ma, and 25% divided between the 5 of us. Yida, Crowbar, myself, Tom, and the baby. That makes 5% for each one of us.
Billy, you're cheating yourself. If there's 25% divided among the 5 of you, that's 14% apiece.
Oh, no, listen, Pa. I wouldn't cheat you. You know I wouldn't. Now, look here. I'll show you. Let me rub this out here. And now, 25 divided by 5 is 5. You see, 5 won't go into 2, will it? No. But 5 goes into 25 5 times, you see?
No, you're wrong, Billy. Now, I'm a pretty good mathematician. Now, 5 into 25... 5 won't go into 2, will it?
No.
But 5 goes into 5 once. Now, we didn't use the 2 before, so we bring it down here. Now, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. There you are. 5 into 25, 14.
No, look, Pa. Let me prove it to you now by multiplication. 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25.
Really, I'm surprised you're learning.
Huh?
I'm surprised that you're learning. Now I'll show you. 5 times 14 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. 25. That's it.
No, look, Ma. Look, you're wrong there because I'll prove it to you. We'll put down 5 14s here. 14. There. Now I'll prove to you by addition that 5 14s is not 25. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There you are. Better brush up, Billy. I don't want to see you boys cheated.
Okay, so with that being said,
Let's do some math.
we're gonna now do some math, okay? But you're gonna feel like at one point that I'm doing Ma and Pa Kettle math, but I'm really not. So what you just saw there is more difficult than what we're gonna be doing math-wise. Okay, all right, let me get back. I was hoping that I could not lose all my stuff in my screen share, but it lost it. So, oh well. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So the rest of what we're gonna talk about is those 4 protocols, okay? Now, here's what I need you guys to understand though. Remember I said to you that I'm gonna give to you a process that is 100% guaranteed to work. Now, I drew this for you before, this half of a bell curve or a learning curve. Now, the process here, well, actually, let me pause for a minute. I mentioned at the start of this class that what I'm going to teach you guys in is 100% guaranteed to work. 100%. It is guaranteed to work because it is a math problem, and I'm going to show you the math. But this will work. Now, here's the frustration, though. Most of you, by the time I'm done here in the next hour of explaining this to you guys, by the time I'm done, you are going to be really excited about it, and you're going to be like, I 100% could see why it would work. But here's the frustration. Most of you, and I'm not trying to be negative, you're not going to do it. And that's what frustrates me, is because it will 100% work, but most of you are not going to go do it. And in fact, I would recommend, I don't know who's on here, let's see. I would recommend for you guys, you should attend, I don't think I have anybody repeating in class today, which frustrates me, because here's why. You should come to this class every time I teach it, or go online onto YouTube and find this class after today and rewatch it every couple of months until it's working for you. Because here's what happens. I'm gonna lay this out for you guys. At the end, you're gonna be like, I can totally see how that would work. It totally makes sense. Yet, most of you are not gonna do it. Now, the reason I say that, and I'm not trying to be negative, to some extent, I'm trying to challenge you. Meaning, like, for me, I was the type, if I was sitting in class and the teacher had said, I'm gonna give you the secret, and I'm gonna give you the secret to make tons and tons of money in this business, and you're gonna leave here and not do it, I would have been the guy that was going, oh no, I'm doing it. So I'm hoping that that's what you're thinking right now, is I'm gonna go do it. Now, but here's the thing. You gotta be willing to stick with it. Now, who knows anything about how bamboo grows? Okay, Tim, what do you know about? Tell us about bamboo and how it grows.
It grows fast. And it's a grass. It's got a root system like that. And it grows like 3 to 6 inches a day. Okay.
Now, so he said it grows fast, which is true, sort of. It's true once it starts to grow. But what it looks like is something like what you're seeing right here. The process of bamboo growing, actually it takes 4 years before it starts to grow that fast. So now the good news is this is not going to take, what I'm going to teach you, and it's not going to take 4 years first, but it's going to take a few months before it's going to start to pay off. But with bamboo, once it starts to grow, it goes really fast and up to 80, 90 feet tall in a matter of weeks, because it's growing so many inches every day, just that fast. But the problem is it took 4 years to get its root system in place in order to do that. This works the same way. What I'm going to teach you and so the reason most people will leave here and not go do what I'm going to teach you is because you're not going to see success the first month. It's going to take, so in order, think of it as this is where we're trying to get to, is up here. In order for you to get to this spot, to get to this spot right here, is probably going to take 6 to 9 months.
That seems fast still.
Well, I totally agree with you. That's why I'm saying it's not a 4-year process to get there. It's a 6 to 9 month process. But notice what happens the first 3 or 4 months.
Nothing.
Yeah, essentially. Now the truth is, like bamboo, stuff's happening. You just can't see it above the surface. See, the bamboo is growing. It's just putting its root structure in place so that it can shoot up that quickly. Well, the same concept is going to happen with your sphere of influence. Is you'll notice here, when it starts to go, it goes. But it's going to take some time to get there. And I'll explain why that is in just a minute. So just know that here's what I'm telling you. If you will follow the process, and I tell you it's guaranteed to work, from this point on, so 6 to 9 months from now, you will, from that point on, earn in excess of a 6-digit income. So, and the part of why I'm not saying a number necessarily right now is because we got people from California watching on Zoom as well. And the numbers, meaning unfortunately, or fortunately for them, because their average commission is higher, doing the same process we're talking about, they're going to make more money than you do just because of the sales price, average sales price. But I'm going to run some numbers with you guys, and we'll do it for, I'll probably run the numbers for the Utah, and then for you guys in California, just know I'll let you run the number, and we'll talk about the average commission. But here's the thing, just it is guaranteed to work. And really what I will tell you is we're talking, when I say if you'll follow this process, you'll start to make in excess of $250,000 a year by doing just this. And it will work. It's guaranteed to work because it's a math problem. And I'm going to show you the math here in just a minute. So just kind of know that's where we're headed to. But I have to put that in place first because I want you to know what's going to happen is you're going to start doing these 4 things that I've taught you. And after 2 or 3 months of you doing it, you're going to still see no success. Now that's not totally true. You might see some there, but you're going to feel like you're not seeing any success. And as a result, most of you are going to quit doing it. You're going to go, yeah, I'm just not doing it. So I'm telling you right now, it will work. It's going to take time. Just don't give up. Stick with it. Go ahead, Brendan.
I know like a couple of these guys are new. They don't technically have an SOI, but the leads and being on the team, the lead system is technically like your SOI.
That's what I was going to say is I'm going to show you how to work those.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you how to turn those into the SOI. That's perfect. Yep, you're right on.
Because we're all internet leads here, so at least with us.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to show it for both ways, meaning like, here's the thing. Sometimes what people will say to me is, well, I just moved into this town or city or whatever, and I don't know anybody. I tell them, good, who cares? In fact, actually, to some extent, I think that person is more likely to do it than the person who has a huge network of people in the area, honestly, if you want to know my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to walk you through that. Okay, so keep this piece in mind that it's going to take 6 to 9 months for it to hit this point. Now you'll notice, 4 or 5 months in, it's going to start to really take off. But if you'll follow what I'm showing you on this, it's guaranteed to work. Okay, next. So here's the next thing. Now let me show you what happens. So I'm going to show you now. We talked earlier this week about, or maybe it was last week, I don't remember, but empirical data versus anecdotal. Empirical is like real facts. Anecdotal is the stories that we tell. Okay. Now we talked, I think, about a part of this. If you were to take a map, so if you just grabbed a map of whatever town anywhere in the United States and you drew a circle on that map. Now it's going to have to be a fairly large circle, but meaning to get enough of a sampling of people. But what do you think the chances are of somebody within this circle on a map? And so actually, just so that both California can relate and for you guys, if we just said Salt Lake County here, or for you guys in California, if you said Ventura County, if you were to look at that and say, okay, let's take that whole county, what do you think the odds are that somebody is going to be moving within that circle?
Almost 100%.
Sorry, I should have clarified that. Within a year. Meaning like there's not 100% chance, 100% of the people are not going to move.
Oh, you're talking about people.
Yeah, what percentage of the people on the map are going to be moving?
10%. Maybe that's even high.
Okay.
5 or 6.
So according to the Census Bureau, what they have found, and this is just a nationwide number, so it's going to vary a little bit from place to place, but what they found is that 12% of the population will move within a year's time frame. Every year, 12% of the people are going to move. Now that includes renters as well. So if you factor out the renters, what they figure is 7% of the population are going to be moving, okay? Buying or selling a house. So out of 100 people, and again, bless you, if you were to just take a neighborhood of 100 people, it might not play out, meaning you're going to have, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 people. But then if you were to look at it, you would find 7% of those people are going to do something real estate related. Now, the reason I bring that up to you is because of this. You are going to hear, if you haven't heard yet, somewhere along the lines, you're going to hear somebody say something like this. For every 100 people that you talk to, you should get 10 leads. And for every 10 leads, you should do a transaction. You're going to hear that if you haven't heard it yet. But just kind of nationwide, there are trainers out there that will say that. Now, what I want to show you is where that comes from, why they say that. The reason they say that is based upon what we were talking about up here of this 7%. Now, here's where the math's going to get fuzzy for a minute, okay? If out of 100 people, 7% were going to be buying or selling, how many transactions would that equate to?
7.
See, now this is where mom and pop kettle math comes into play, because it's actually, believe it or not, 14.
Because they double it, they could buy and sell.
That's right. So the reason for that is we double, when a house sells, so notice if I said how many houses are going to sell out of 100, it would be 7. But how many transactions are there? There's 14. Because every time a house sells, there's a buy side and a sell side. So meaning, like, sometimes if you were to stop and look at how many homes sold in my area that I'm working in, so for whatever that is for the people in California or here, you would actually have to look at the number of homes that sold and double it to say that's how many transactions, that's how many commissions were paid. So now notice, so here's where this comes from. When somebody says out of 100 people you talk to, you should find 10 leads, where they're getting the 10 from is because of this 14 potential transactions. Okay. So they're saying, and out of that, you should be able to get a deal. Well, here's the problem with that. Now I mentioned to you guys before that earlier this week or last week, I think it was last week actually, I mentioned to you guys that when I first started, my manager told me this, essentially this process. If you'll go talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads, and from those 10 leads, you should do a transaction. I started working, and what I found is there was no truth to this, at least for me, because I told you guys, so look, let's run the math on it real quick. I told you guys I was doing 50 contacts a day, or essentially 250 contacts per week, right? I was doing essentially 250 contacts per week. Well, if this is true, then out of that 250 contacts that I was doing, I should have gotten 25 leads. And of that, I should have been doing 2.5 transactions per week. Well, that wasn't happening. So if that's where, for me, when I'm saying this sounds good in theory, for every 100 people you talk to, you should get 10 leads and do a transaction. Sounds great. But here's the problem. What they're not understanding in this when they say that, because here's what I found for me. I was doing 250 contacts a week, making supposedly getting 25 leads, but I was not doing 2.5 transactions, meaning like that should have been over 50 transactions a year, and I wasn't doing that. Now, remember, I told you the story though, that when I went from contacts to appointments, then my business, I did twice as many transactions, working half as much. See, that's why I'm saying this sounds good, but what it actually demonstrates is the lack of knowledge of how this really works. So let me show you what I mean. So we have what, 2, 4, 6, 7. I wish we had a couple more people. But here's where we're going to talk math for a minute, okay? All right, so I'm going to exit out of this so that people can see a little better here. Blink that. All right. If you look at the 110-1 thing, this is how we think it works. Watch. So I go talk to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, if that ratio of, if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10. Essentially, it's a 10-to-1 ratio, right? So if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all of them have told me no. What's going to happen when I get to number 10?
Yes.
See, that's what that looks like it should say, right? But that's not actually what it says. See, the reason why I'm saying to you, when I looked at it and said, okay, if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads. From the 10 leads, you should get 1 transaction. Here's the problem with that. Now, we're talking just in the general public. So if you just go knock on random doors, this is what we're told, is that you talk to 100, you should get 10 leads, should do 1 transaction. But that's not what it says. See, what that demonstrates is our lack of understanding of how odds work. Now, let me show you what I mean. Because ultimately, so I brought my dice here, which in fact, I think Trevor and Chad, I think, are both online right now, right? And they're both on their way to Vegas. So I'm going to teach you, Chad, how to make some money while you're in Vegas. Just kidding.
I swear Trevor said he's going to Vegas last weekend.
He did go. Yeah, Trevor went last week too. I know.
It's not my fault.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous, Trevor.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm just kidding. If you guys try to do what I'm going to teach you in Vegas, you'll end up out in the middle of the desert with a Colombian necktie or something. You'll be dead. So don't try this. But here, what I'm going to show you guys, though, is do a demonstration to you of what it looks like and how odds really work. Because it sounds like 10 to 1s. I mean, like, to me, like, when I heard that, I was like, I can go knock on 100 doors, talk to 10, get 10 leads, and turn it into a transaction. But the problem is that is not how odds work. Here's how they work. So somebody pick a number between 1 and 6. One time I said in the class, pick a number, and I'm like holding the dice, and somebody said 7. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. So yeah, 4. Okay. So what are the odds that when I roll this, I'm going to get a 4? 1 out of 6, right? So, but hold on. What we think that means then, and so we're going to do a demonstration. I don't know how well if you guys are going to be able to see on Zoom, so I'll try to stay back here, and we'll tell you. So what we're going to see is what happens, okay? So I'm going to roll this, and we're going to see how many times I have to roll it to get a 4. Now, we might do it more than once, depending on, I mean, if I roll it right now and a 4 comes up, then we're going to do it again. But watch what happens, because what are the odds? Okay, so let's find out what happens. Okay, so there's 1. Okay, 2. So it took me 2 rolls to get it. Okay, so but now let's see what happens. Let's do it again and see. So that one, the odds were 50-50. So now let's see what happens this time. There's a 5. So there's 1 roll, 2 rolls, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if the odds are 1 out of 6, what should happen?
We have to get a 4 now.
I have to get a 4.
Yeah, or else
So
the universe is broken.
it was a 5. So hold on. Okay, so there's 6 rolls. There's 7 rolls. There's 8. 9. So wait a minute. I thought you guys said the odds were 1 and 6. There's 10.
They're 1 and 6 every
11.
Dice are loaded.
12.
So I'm living my life on a 10-sided dice. Is that what you're saying?
13. 14. 15. This is how I get my squats in for today. 16.
Use your legs more.
So wait, what's going on?
You're having a rough year.
So, okay, 7. Okay, it took 17 rolls to get a 4. But hold on.
The odds are 1 out of 6.
I thought you guys told me the odds were 1 and 6.
Like Swin said, it's 1 out of 6
Every roll.
Okay, good. So out of every time, so see, here's the thing.
They're not accounting for the 1,000-sided dice for every time I dial a phone, if they're going to pick up or knock a door, they're going to even open it.
Correct. So here's the thing. See, the problem is when somebody told me if you go talk to 100 people, you're going to get 10 leads and turn into 1 transaction. That sounded great. The problem is it was no different than saying, hey, there's a 1 in 6 chance you're going to roll a 4. But as you guys said, the odds don't change based on the number of times you do it. Now, there is in math I had actually a guy and this guy is hugely successful right now in real estate in our market in Utah. And he challenged me one day and he goes, yeah, but no, the more times you roll it, the more likely you are to get it. And so the answer to that in math, it's called, and this is like way technical, but it's called regression towards the mean. So there is something in math that would say, yes, that the more times you do it, eventually it is going to balance out. Here's the problem with that. Meaning, like if I rolled this, we just did it 3 times to see how many times I had to roll it to get a 4. Did I do it 3 or only twice?
Twice.
I only did it twice. So yeah,
It took
only,
17 times the second time.
so it was
It's 19.
19 times but so here's the thing. If I did it 100,000 times, or maybe even I might have to do more than that, but if I did it 1,000,000 times, it's going to end up being like 1 point so many times. It came up 1 point so many times out of 6, or meaning it's still not going to be exactly 6, but it's going to be close. Does that make sense? So that's regression towards the mean. Here's the problem with regression towards the mean and us in real estate. You're probably not going to make 1,000,000 contacts in, a month to get to where the odds are 1 out of 10. Now, so let me show you what this means. And what that's called, by the way, is an open system. So we're going to talk about a closed system in a minute, because the closed system's the magic of this, okay? But before that, let me show you what that means. So let me go back to the 1 in 10 thing. So if I'm going to get 1 lead essentially out of every 10 contacts, what does that mean when I talk to Swin? What are the odds of him being the 1?
1 in 10.
Okay, I'm going to say it a little different, but it's 9 to 1 against me. It's 9. Let me say it differently. The odds are 9 times better that he's going to say no than that he's going to say yes. So then what happens? I get to number 2, to Aaron.
Same thing.
9 to 1. What are they here? 9 to 1. Now, again, we're taking out the regression towards the mean. So now what are they? 9 to 1. 9 to 1. See, notice what happens. Even so, 9 to 1, 9 to 1, 9 to 1. So now I've got back to number 9. So here's the 10th one. What's the odds?
Still 9 to 1.
9 to 1. What? Against me.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. The odds don't get better based on the number of times you do it. Now, again, like I said, there's regression towards the mean that if you do it enough times, then it'll balance out. The problem we have in real estate is you can't really get on the phone and make that many contacts for it to balance out. That's the problem in working an open system. Now,
How do you increase your odds?
so now we're going to talk about, so how do we change it? This is the part for Trevor and Chad. Don't try this in Vegas on playing craps or you'll be dead. Okay. The odds are 1 in 6. So now let's see what happens this time. Only we're going to change the rules of the game. Now, because this is my real estate career, I'm in charge of the rules of the game. I can decide what I want to do, how I want to approach it. In Vegas, you can't do this, at the casino. So, but for your real estate career, you can control this. So now watch what happens. So we're going to switch from an open system, because that's what the reason Vegas works, by the way, guys, is they understand the odds. See, they know that you're going to go, oh, there's a 1 in 6 chance. But really what they know is there's 5 times greater chance you're going to roll a number that's not the number. That's what they know. And that's in their favor. So how do we turn the real estate game to our favor? Well, we do it by creating a closed system. So let me show you what that looks like. So now we're going to do the same thing. Only this time you'll notice I have these stickers. Here's what we're going to do. Every time I roll a number that is not a 4, I'm going to put a sticker on. So we'll count it as a roll until there's a sticker on. If I roll it and a sticker comes up, we get a free throw. Doesn't count. So now let's see what happens. Okay, so now help me keep track and we'll see how many times I have to roll it to get a 4. Okay, there's a 5. That 5's come up a lot. So, but I'm going to put a sticker on it. Now, if that comes up again, it's a free throw. Doesn't count. So I've rolled it 1 time. Rolled the dice 1 time. Okay, there's a 1. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the 1. And there's the 6. So we've rolled 3 times. I put 3 stickers on. Free throw. Doesn't count. Free throw. Doesn't count. So how many times have we rolled it?
3.
3 times. So now there's the fourth. So there's the fourth roll. Free throw. Okay, how many times do we roll it?
3 or 4.
4 times. Okay, so now let's see what happens this time. Free throw. 1. Okay, let's do it one more time. So I only had to roll it 1 time. Okay, there's a 2. So now I'm going to put this sticker on. So now they're all covered except for the 4. So how many times am I going to have to roll it?
Once.
Yeah, I either get a free throw or it's the 4 every time now. How'd you like to do real estate that way?
Pretty convenient.
See, because at this point, I'm either going to roll it and keep getting a free throw or I get the 4. So now it's going to be 1 to 1 to 1. All right. So how do we do that? That's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the day. All right, so here's what we're going to do. So I won't take my screen off again so I don't lose everything again. So I'm going to just kind of draw this up here. So just for you to remember, this was clients, this was prospects, this is our SOI, okay, or suspects. So here's the thing. So the first protocol, remember I told you I'm going to give you 4 protocols. This is the first protocol. The first protocol, and remember, these are required conditions, means you have to do it this way. You can't change it. It won't work if you change it. But if you'll follow it, we're going to create it to where it's just like this, to where the more you do it, see, notice that the more that I rolled the dice, the more the odds increased. That's what I'm going to show you is how do we do that, okay? So here's the thing. So here's what I would recommend, or not recommend, this is required, okay, is it has to be a closed, your SOI has to be a closed system. And what that means, because we just went from, I showed you the difference of playing that game as an open system versus a closed. So your sphere of influence has to be a closed system. What that means is it has to be fixed in size. Okay. Now the number doesn't really matter. I'm going to give you a number, but the number doesn't really matter. But to begin with, the number matters. So think of it this way. In fact, I'll draw the little thing up here to remind you of this too. So remember that horribly drawn now there bell curve that I just did? Okay. Remember that I said it's going to take 6 to 9 months to get here. And once you get to this point right here, you can change the number to any number you want. But until then, this fixed in size number should be 200 people. Okay? So you want to have 200 people in there. Now, the reason for that, why it's 200, is because you can effectively manage it. As I give you the rest of the protocols, you're going to see if you have 4,000 people, you can't do it. It won't work. And here's what I'm saying. So let me put it to you this way. There are a lot of top agents in the country that make a lot of money, that if you ask them how many people in your sphere of influence, they're going to tell you like 4,000, 5,000 people. You're going to see here in a minute, you cannot effectively work that many people, and you don't need to. Here's the other thing that I hear all the time is I hear people say, you should get a 10 or a 15% return off of your sphere of influence. And I would say that is a poor number because if you're doing it, that's in an open system. But here's the other thing I will tell you. These people who do have 4,000 or 5,000 people in a database, if you had 4,000 people and you're getting a 10% return, how many transactions would that be?
500, 400.
Yeah.
550, I guess.
And they're not doing that many transactions. So they're not, when they say I'm getting a 10% return and they've got 4,000 people, they're not doing that 400 transactions in a year. So they're not getting that good of a return. But here's what I'm telling you. If you will follow the process that I'm going to show you, you can get a 60% return. Meaning out of 200 people, you should be able to get a return on that of 60%. Now I'm going to show you how to do that as we go through this, okay? Now, So the first protocol though, is you got to have 200 people in there. Now, I used to teach this that you had to start with 200, but you don't have to start with 200. You can build it to that. Now, so here's what I would recommend, Brandon, for you guys. I would say what you should do, or anybody that's, I mean, any of you guys that are on here, if you're on a team and you're working internet leads, follow what I'm going to tell you right now. Pick out of those. So as you're calling through, so I'm going to talk about it both ways, but as you're calling through the leads, you're trying to set an appointment. Remember we talked about before, we talked about prospecting on parallel tracks, looking for now business and looking for future at the same time. Remember us talking about that? Okay. You're looking for now business by setting an appointment. So every phone call, your primary objective on any, and actually this goes for everybody, by the way. I don't care if it's Trevor calling in for sale by owner. Your primary objective is to set an appointment. No matter who you're calling, knocking on a door, open house, I don't care what it is. Your primary objective, set an appointment. But if I can't set an appointment, then I want to capture the person as a lead. Okay. So now think of those leads as being this group of 200 people. Make sense? Hey, so here's what you want to be doing is I'm wanting to set it. And I want to be really, really clear. My primary objective on every single phone call is set an appointment. I mean, have I made that clear enough? Yep. It is to set an appointment. But if I can't get an appointment, if I can't get them to agree to an appointment, then what I want to do is capture them as a lead. So think about this prospect thing here where I was saying prospects are becoming either a client, they're becoming an SOI, or you're dropping them, right? So what I'm going to be doing, I don't really want that all the way over here. What I'm really trying to do though is to set an appointment with that person. But if I can't, then I'm going to identify them and put them into my database as part of an SOI. Make sense? Now, if what I said, here's where I'm going to test you to see if it makes sense. If what I said is true, that I can only have 200 people there. Now, remember I said initially I taught it as you had to start with 200, and now I just say you just can build it up to 200. Once I hit 200 then, and I get on and I'm making my calls for the day, and I come across somebody and I say, hey, when can we get together? When can we get together? How soon can we get together? What works better, afternoons or evenings? Let's say I asked 5 times and they've told me no, 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 but I keep asking. Eventually, I'm not going to ask anymore because it's like, okay. At that point, I say, okay, now this is the language you want to use. So I don't have this written down as a script, but you might want to write it down. Here's what I'm going to say to this person. So let's assume I'm on the phone with Tim. He's told me no about an appointment 4 or 5 times. So I'm clear I'm not going to get an appointment. Then what I'm going to say to Tim is, Tim, I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with to keep them updated on the market. So here's the key thing is you want to say, why am I saying it as I have a select group of people?
Makes them feel special.
That's right. I want them to feel special. So Tim, I've got a select group of people that I stay in touch with about the market and keep them updated on the market. I would like to add you to that list. Like what? Yeah. So essentially that's it, is what I'm going to say is I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with, keep them updated on the market. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? Now, if they were to say, well, what do you mean? What does that mean? What it means is I'm just going to give you a call periodically to update you on what's happening in the market. Just keep you updated on what's going on in the market. That be okay? Yep. All right, perfect. Now, let's say that I did that with Tim and he said yes. Well, if what I said is true, that this protocol, if it has to be a closed system and I already have 200 people in there, well, what am I going to do? Because I already got 200 people, but now Tim's saying, yes, I want to be in that select group. But
drop the ones you've had no contact with.
Okay, good. So just keep in mind, you can't have 201.
So refresh.
Because you can't handle more than 200.
That's right. And you'll see why here in just a minute. Okay. So the truth is you could potentially handle 300. You could. But you start to get above that, unless you have more people on a team with you working it, calling this database, you can't effectively do it. Okay. So that's the first thing is it has to be fixed in size. The number I'm telling you, it has to be is 200. Now, once you get to this point right here, you could change it to whatever number you want. If you want to go to 300, go to 300. If you want to drop it down to the lowest I've seen anybody do this and be effective with it is 75. So you could do it with 75. Now, my fear of always telling you that is that somebody right now listening, either on Zoom or here, is thinking, oh, well, good, I'm going to do 75 instead of 200. No, you have to, well, it could work. It's just, it might take the 4 or 5 years to work. Versus if you'll do 200, you can get it in 6 to 9 months.
Do you mind just clarifying something? So,
yep.
Sphere of influence, that's people we've made contact with and they're missing one of the criteria. One of the 4.
So
that's
a prospect. Yeah, sorry, I didn't clarify that. So let me do that.
Yeah, because I don't.
So a client is the 4 things we talked about.
Right.
A prospect is missing one of the 4.
Okay.
The SOI, the people that I'm going to consider as SOI. So if you remember over here, this was now. Number 2 is need. 3, or sorry, this was you. This one was now. Essentially, the people I'm going to put over here are the people that are not now. If they're not, they might have clear and present needs. They might be committed to working exclusively with me, but they're not going to be ready for a while. And here's what I would say. So since you guys are doing internet leads, here's what I will tell you. The majority of the people that you get on the phone with fall into this category of they're 6 to 9 months out. So I'll give you a little bit of a preview. Remember I said it's going to take 6 to 9 months to get to this? Part of the reason for that is 2 reasons, actually. One is the people that this goes for open houses, by the way, too, because I think a lead on an internet is the same essentially as somebody who comes to the open house. The only difference is the internet, you're capturing them earlier in the process than when they walk into an open house. So to some extent, it might be a little more towards the 9 month versus an open house is 6 months. Okay. But for me, the people that I'm going to put in here then into this select group, essentially I want to be people who would be willing to work with me that seem like they're going to be realistic, but they're just not ready yet. That's it. And then I'm going to put them into this database. And when I call it a database, are you using Pro Agent?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember off Pro Agent what I would call it. Like some of the systems you would put a label on it and like label it as select group of people or select group, something like that. I'm trying to remember on Pro Agent.
Updated, there's like client, prospect. Like
okay.
That way.
And you can create one, right?
Yeah.
So you might want to create one that's just called select group. And then what you would do is what I would recommend, and then for the rest of you guys that are not doing that, is just have a database somehow that you are going to mark them. So for me, I would say put them in Zap. You could put it in Zap and create a tag that is called select group. And I'm just going to put the people in this select group. And then the idea though is build it to 200. Once you hit the 200, then as you start to add people in, you're going to have to get rid of somebody. Now that is going to be one of the protocols. So I'm going to hold for that for just a minute. But let me tell you one other quick story on this closed system. So the lady that I trained in this, that I think does it the best that I've ever seen, her number in her closed system is 97 people is what she had in there. And this goes back probably, the last time I talked to her was probably 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't know where she's currently at, but 4 or 5 years ago, and I've known her for 15 years though, and she's done it for essentially the 15 years. But 4 years ago, she had 97 people in there and she was earning over $300,000 a year with 97 people. So that's kind of just know that that's how it works. Now, let me show you one other thing of how this plays out. Okay. So if I had 200 people in there, and what I'm telling you guys is that you can, what happened? I wrote 200, didn't I? Or did I only write 20? Oh, okay. I was like, what the heck?
It was there 1 second.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it went away. I was like, what happened? Okay, if I had 200 people in there, and I'm telling you, you can plan on not a transaction, but at least them either giving you a lead or them contacting you and saying, we're thinking about doing something, from 60% of those people. You're not going to get it from 100%. You're going to, but here's why, by the way. I did the demonstration with you guys about how easy it is, Swen, remember, to get you to lie to me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, most of you guys
I lied
missed
for
it.
like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I could not get him to tell me the truth. Remember that? Those, well, I guess Tim and Mary were the only one. No, Mary was here too. So yeah, like I couldn't get him to tell me the truth. Like I tried and tried, right? And finally he told me the truth. So remember that. That's why I'm saying ultimately these 200 people that are in there, you believe that they're going to either do business with you or refer business to you. But I'm telling you, 40% of them are lying to you. They're not going to. But that's okay, because watch what happens. If I had, in just a 1-year period, 200 people that I got a lead from them, or they called me and said they were thinking about doing something real estate related. I gave him a dirty look before. All right, so that's going to be 120 people. So now picture this. Out of the 200, they're either going to say, come over and talk to us because we're thinking about doing something, or they're going to say, hey, we're not doing anything, but call this person because they're thinking about it. So out of that 120, how many of those do you think could turn into a possibility? Like what percentage would we? Now keep in mind, I showed you guys the chart of how people choose their agent. They're either are a friend, neighbor, or relative, or referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative. So what number should we say percentage wise out of this 120 that would turn into a?
Well, with mom and pop math, it'd be like.
I was gonna say 14 is what I want to say.
Yeah, no, don't do mom and pop kettle math. No. Let 50%. That's what I was going to say is would you guys be comfortable if I said, yeah, 50% of the, like, because not everybody, like when you go out to some people's house, you're going to go out and talk to them and they're either going to go, yeah, we decided not to, or they can't for some reason. There's a lien on the house. Their job transfer falls through, like stuff like that. So I'm not even saying out of these 120 that it totally, like I'm saying that they sign a buyer broker with you, not that they write a contract even. But would everybody be comfortable to say 50%, so 60 of those? Now, of those, what percentage should we say would close? 50% again? I mean, does anybody feel like that's too high of a percentage? I mean, it's probably too low, honestly, but.
I'd rather be conservative.
Leave like that.
But let's be conservative. Okay, so watch what we just did here. Out of 200 people, assuming that 60% are either going to say, yes, come talk to me about it, or here's somebody you should call, which I'll tell you what you should do with those two, is 120. And then we're saying only half of those turn into like, yeah, let's take the next step. And only half of those then actually close. That's 30. Now, let's times that. What would you guys say? And so for you guys in California, tell me what your thoughts are. Sorry, I am not keeping an eye on the chat box, but it doesn't look like there's anything in there anyway. So somebody from California, unmute. What's your average commission in California? And for you guys in Utah, what should we say the average commission that we're going to make on a transaction here is? Do you have a number that you use, Brandon, with your team?
You say 5,000. Like 6.
Okay,
Yeah, like
let's
6.
do 5.
After like, yeah.
Let's just do 5. 5,000. Now for California, somebody unmute. What do you? I have an idea, but I want to hear what you guys say.
I've been told between 6 and 10.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to say, I think for our company
Okay.
in California, it's like 10. It might be even 12, but let's just say 10. So this is why I said you guys are going to all want to move to California. But all right. So, but I'm going to just do it by, there's Utah, here's California, and actually, let's just say 7,000 for California. I don't want to get you too excited. So look at what happens if you got 30 transactions out of those 200 people at $5,000 a piece is 150,000, and in California that's going to be 210,000. Now that's if I mean what Brandon said and you guys said I think is true. Out of those 60, you're probably going to do more than 30, but let's just say 30 just to be safe. So if you'll do what I tell you to do in Utah, you're going to make 150,000. If you do it in California, you're going to make 210.
So it's for the year.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't do what I'm telling you, because who wants to do that, right?
Yeah. Who needs a better
Yeah. All right. So that's the math piece of this. Now let me show you one. I'm going to do one other math piece with you guys on this to show you how this works, to show you the power of how do we make this work. Now, watch this. So let's say, for the ease of the math, I'm going to say that we've got 100 people in that select group. Now, remember, it's got to be 200 until it's working. Once it's working, change it to whatever number you want. And I'll tell you how to decide that in a minute. But out of those 100 people, we're going to say 50 of them are green and 50 are red. Now, I haven't explained a green or a red, so let me do that. I did explain to you that some of these people will say, if you stayed in touch with them, that you could stay in touch with them and they'll refer to you and blah, blah, blah. But they're not going to. Remember, some of them are going to lie. So here's the thing. Think of it this way. Out of the 100 people that I have in there, you only want to put people in there who have agreed they would stay in touch with you about real estate, okay? It's okay if you would do that. But I already told you, some of them are going to not respond to you, meaning, or they're going to lie, okay? So in your mind, all 100 are green. So we're going to call green is somebody that would do business with you or refer business to you. So the reason I put them as green is that represents money, okay? But of those 100 that we think are green, I'm just telling you, let's say, for the sake of an argument right now, that 50 of them are red. 50 of them are lying to you. They're never going to do a transaction and they're never going to do business with you. Now, pay attention to this piece, because this is where you're going to see how the magic of this plays out, okay? So let's say that I get the next week, I get 10 leads. Oh, before I do that. So the odds of these people are 50-50. Now, I'm going to first show you why an open system doesn't work. Okay, so if I'm going to first show you that. But let's say that in the next week, I get 10 new leads from any source. I don't care what it is. But I get 10 people that have said, yes, you can stay in touch with me about real estate. Okay. So what I do then is I'm going to add those 10 people to this database. Now, of those 10 people, and I don't really care, but I might care a little bit. We'll see by what you say. How many of those should we say out of 10 leads that I get that within the next year would do a transaction? Like, just give me a number out of the 10. 2 out of the 10? Okay, I'll take that. Okay, now watch what happens here. So we're gonna, but now keep in mind, we're gonna add 10 people to our database. Now keep in mind, we believe that all 10 of them are gonna do something. We think they're all green. But in actuality, 8 of them are red. But we don't know that until later on. Okay, so but watch what happens. So I'm gonna add 8 people that are red, even though I think they're green. A year from now, we're gonna find out they were red. I'm going to add 2 people that are green. So that means now that I have 52 green, 58 red, which means I have 110 people. Now, somebody divide 58 into the 110 and tell me what percentage that is. What's the percentage? Your flashlight. Like, I know my class is good. Like he's no, he's not doing that. He's doing this. Yeah, let's go, Russ. Okay. So now watch what happened. Here's the problem with an open system. So notice this just went from 50% to 52, and our green then automatically went to 48. So let me just pause for a minute to let that sink in. Here's what that means. My workload just went from 100 to 110. So the amount of work I'm going to have to put in went up 10% to get a return of 2% less. Do you see the problem? Like this is why when people go, oh, I got 4,000 people in my database, I'm like, yeah, Because guess what happens every time this number keeps growing? This number keeps going down every time you do that. Because people lie. They're going to tell you, yeah, I would use you. Yep, for sure, I'll refer to you. And then they're never going to do it. So now watch though. Now, what's our number one protocol though that we have for this?
It's a closed system.
It's a closed system, which means it has to be fixed in size. So we got to get rid of 10 people. Who should we get rid of? Yeah, we're going to get rid of 10 reds. Like we're not going to get rid of the greens. Now I'll say more about that in a minute. I'll tell you how we're going to do that in a second. So now watch what happens though. By getting rid of 10, watch what happens. So now I'm at 48 here, 52 here, which means I'm back to 100 total. And look at what happened. This is why I'm using 100 instead of 200. Look what happened to my percentage. So now, yeah, now notice a month later or a week later, whatever it is, my work stayed the same, but my percentage of the chances of me doing a deal just went up. Now, let's do it again. So let's say the next month goes by, and this time, let's say we lucked out. We had a lucky month, okay? Because the only reason I'm doing it this way is to just show you the power of this as an accelerator. But over time, this is what's going to happen, just probably not as fast as I'm showing you right now. So the next month we got lucky, and we added 8 that end up being green and 2 that will end up being red. So now I'm at 50 here and 60 here, which means I'm back to 110 here. So what do I got to do?
Get off as many red as you can.
Get rid of 10, which means now I'm 40 here and 60 there. So now look at what just happened to my percentage. And the work stayed the same.
That just gets better as you know when people are bullshitting.
That's right. The longer you do it, the more you're going to figure that out so that you know who to get rid of. See, now, so notice what's going to happen if I did that every month. If every month I just keep adding people in and getting rid of the ones. So think of it this way. Essentially what I'm going to do is when I added these 8 people in, I was holding them up to and comparing them to all the rest of this 100. And I was saying, okay, is this person, since I've picked on Swen before, I'll make it a good one. Is Swen better than the other 100 people that I have in there? And I'm going to go, well, yeah, like for maybe not all of them. I'm just kidding. Maybe, but I'm going to for sure looking, is there at least one person? So every lead I'm going to get, I'm going to look at it and go, is there anybody in my 100 that is worse or less likely to do a deal than this person?
So like someone that doesn't answer their phone for 3 times.
Exactly right. Yep, we're going to talk about that. Yep. So I'm just looking for, hey, this person will talk to me and that one's not answering their phone anymore.
Hot dog. I've got the key.
Get rid of them and put that other one in there, and automatically it just got better. And so now the question, what would happen if you kept doing that month after month?
Get rid of all this crap. Yeah, the good ones in.
So let me actually just tell you a quick story here on this. So I had a person in my database that was the lady that would cut my hair, and almost every time I would go get my hair cut, I would go every 5 to 6 weeks. And every time I would show up to her house. Now, this was my best friend's wife, too, by the way. So from high school, I would go to their house, and in their basement, she had a salon. I would go get my hair cut. Well, they lived, and for those in Utah that you may or may not be familiar, but out in West Valley, there's some townhouses that were built, I don't remember what it was, early 2000 probably. Balmoral townhomes, which I may or may not have heard of, but they lived in those townhomes. And she would cut the hair for most of the ladies that lived in those townhomes. So every 6 weeks, I would show up to her house to get my hair cut. And no lie, if not every time I went, then every other time. At a minimum, every other time. I would get there and she'd be like, oh, you need to call this person because her husband just got a job transfer. He's finished college. These are townhouses. Finished college, got a new job. They're going to be selling. You need to call.
I need to get a better barb.
Yeah. So here's my point though. Imagine if you had a group of people that were like that. See, what you're doing as you're building this whole thing is you're putting anybody in there to begin with. Anybody, doesn't matter who it is. Just until you get to 200, put people in there. But the moment you hit 200, now you're starting to say, okay, who are the ones that are going to be most like this, my friend's wife, that are going to be the referral machines? And what you're looking for then is you get rid of the ones that are not and replace them with somebody else that might be, because see, a might be is better than a is not answering the phone. And what would happen if you just consistently did that and got to where it was full of those type of people?
You're not prospecting much either.
That's right. See, now, that's why I started this whole class of saying, if your business is not getting easier the more you do it, you're doing it something wrong. Now, here's the thing. Let me
let the green prospect for you.
Yeah. So now hold on. Here's the thing though. You're never going to get to 100%. Here's why. My best friend's wife, guess what? My best friend got a job transfer, had to move to Idaho. There went that referral source. Like I lost probably 3 or 4 or 5 transactions a year by them moving. Like it cost me money. Yeah, I was gonna say, you can tell, right? You can still tell. I'm like,
why didn't you get him a job locally? So
I'm looking back on it.
Like 15 grand extra.
I'm looking back on it now, realizing I should have said like, hey, well, like,
I could even see your pain through the computer screen.
What, Trevor?
I said I could even like see your pain through the computer.
I know.
screen.
I can see it. Yeah. So you get the point. Like that's how reliable they were, and it wasn't just for that townhouse, but like I would do probably 5 or 6 transactions a year, I would guess, that I could have attributed just to either my friend or his wife, one of the two of them, because they were really connected in that neighborhood. But my point is, if you can create this, see, notice what would happen if you did that and you just keep following. That's why I said it's a math problem. It's not a people problem. It's just a matter of saying, if the people are not going to refer to me, see, after a year, start with your mom in this database. But if in a year your mom hasn't referred anybody to you, get rid of her. And put somebody else in that will. That's the point.
My first referral. My mom, she lives in Alabama.
Oh yeah?
That's serious. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, good. She can stay in your database. All right. See, oh, actually, on that, I don't even care where they live. Add anybody to it. Yeah, add people from Alabama. Who cares? But over time, you're going to then go, there's going to come a point for you, Swen, where you're going to go, still my mom, but I'm not going to treat you as part of this select group.
Yeah.
All right. So now that was protocol number 2 or 1. Let me pick up, I'm going to pick up the pace here because I've actually explained almost every one of the protocols to you. I just didn't point them out. So I'm going to point out to you. Okay, so here's number 2. The second thing that has to happen with this group is you have to have contact with this group minimum 1 time per month. Now, you notice I said minimum. There are going to be some you're probably going to call more often, but minimum, because again, these are people who are either going to do business with you or refer it to you, but they're just not going to be ready. Like this is the people that say, yeah, in the fall when my kid goes off to college, we're going to move. Like right now for today, somebody that says that to you, you're probably not going to, that's not going to be a transaction until August or September. Well, great, I'm going to put them into this database. And if you called that person once a week, they're probably going to be like, Aaron, I already told you I'm not doing anything till August. But once a month, as a, hey, just giving you a call, let you know interest rates have gone from the low 2s to now they're, inching up towards 3.5 on a conventional. Like that's what you're going to, just go out and keep you like, and to some extent, you might be like, let's keep an eye on those rates, because if they keep going, you might be better off to buy the property now and rent it than to, and then move in August. And, like that's the kind of stuff I'm going to do with this group. Okay, so once a month minimum. Now, the other thing you need to be doing with them once a month is either a mail or an email to them once a month, minimum. Now, again, you may set up a hot sheet for them, or
number 2.
Yeah, this is number 2. So you may set up for you guys in Utah a hot sheet, or for you guys in California, you may set up a portal for them that you're going to have a mailing going out to them of properties more often than once a month. But just like for Swen in his scenario with his mom, like do some type of an email or a mailing to her once a month.
Is this in addition to like a voice contact?
Yep, in addition to the voice contact. Yep.
Is there like preferred content?
So yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. The real answer is no, it doesn't matter. But I would say yes, it matters. Here's why. So here's the story I love to use. You guys get that realtor magazine that it feels like every day there's a new, you're like, I swear I just got a magazine from the NAR. If you haven't felt like that yet, you will. But like my wife's constantly like, how often do they send you guys these magazines? And I'm like, I thought it was once a month, but I swear every week I get one. Well, in the magazine, there used to be a section they would let agents write in and tell funny stories. And so an agent had written in and told this story of that they mailed recipe cards to their clients and how they got a phone call the one day from one of their database and said, hey, I love those recipe cards that you send out. I wanted to give you my new address because we've moved and I love getting those and I still want to get those recipe cards. Yeah, here's the problem. So partially I say you just need to mail something to them, but it ought to be real estate related because the problem is that person in the database related to that agent as the recipe card person, not as a realtor. So it ought to be real estate related is what I would say. So for me, I think what I did was I would send them, I did like a search on the MLS and then I would put in there the homes that were for sale, under contract, or sold in their area. And I would once a month just send them, here's the homes that are either for sale, under contract, or sold in your neighborhood.
Just give them a market analysis a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a full-blown CMA, but it's kind of just a, here's what's gone on in your neighborhood. And what I found by doing that is that's the best thing you can send because they then relate to you as the real estate person.
It's not weird either.
Yep, and it's not weird. Yeah, in fact, Jaden just asked on here, doesn't Zap have a program? So if you're using the Zap system, you can just go in and put in their home address and it'll do it. It does it weekly though, is the only thing, okay? All right, ready for number 3? Number 3 protocol is that you have to have permission. Now, I already shared with you that piece of it. And the permission is what I told you of, I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. That's permission. So every single person that you put in there has to give you permission.
The harassment allowed.
That's right. So it's, hey, I've got a select group of people that I stay in touch with to keep them updated on the real estate market. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? They say yes, that's permission. Make sense? All right, then number 4. The number 4 protocol, which again, we've actually already talked about this too, but I'll give it to you so that you understand it, is actually, before I do, let me teach you a bit. Okay. When we have to call once a month, right? That's one of the protocols. You got to call them once a month. What is the purpose of that phone call? Okay, so this one is going to be counterintuitive. So counterintuitive means it's the opposite of what you would think. So you think you're calling to set an appointment, but what would be the opposite of that?
Just see how
Shoot the breeze to try to see if you can kick them out of here.
I know it's not COVID friendly, but give them that. Good job. Yeah, so in case you guys on Zoom didn't hear what Aaron said. So the purpose, when I said we're going to make contact with them once a month, the purpose of that phone call is counterintuitive. We would think, especially for me, you guys would think what Swen said, which is I'm calling to set an appointment. Nope. The purpose of the phone call is to look for red. It's what Aaron said. The purpose of me making that phone call is who can I get rid of? Who can I kick out of the system? So the purpose of the phone call is not to find the green, it's to find the red. Now, the reason for that is the green take care of themselves. Meaning, somebody who's green is just going to call you and say, Aaron, hey, we need to sell our house, come out. Or they're going to call and go, hey, we just saw a house, we want to go look at it. Can we go? That's what the green will do. But remember, now this goes back to Swen again. Remember how hard it was to get him to tell me the truth? And that was when I was trying to get him to tell me the truth. See, the reason we're doing this is to get them to, so let me show you what I mean. So Brandon already brought it up, but let's say that I call Tim. Ring, ring, ring. He doesn't know, and he doesn't answer the phone. So I get voicemail. If you have permission, now here's the key, with permission, it's okay to leave a voicemail or shoot him a text, okay? So I call, ring, 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 Tim doesn't answer the phone, I get voicemail. Hey, Tim, this is Russ with Century 21, just giving you a call to just touch base with you, hope you're doing well, hope the family's good. Just want to give you an update on what's going on in the market. Give me a call back when you get a minute so I can update you. Talk to you later, click. He doesn't call me back. So the next month, I call him, ring, ring, doesn't answer. Hey, Tim, this is Russ, Century 21. Hope you're doing well. Just thought I'd give you a call and touch base with you, let you know what's going on in the real estate market. Give me a call back when you get a chance. Talk to you later. Click. Doesn't call me back. Third month, ring, ring, ring. Now, here's the thing. You get to decide how many times you want to call. For me, I already told you guys I love baseball. 3 strikes, you're out. It's kind of my thing. So third time, ring, ring, ring. Doesn't answer. Tim. Now you can do either, however you guys want to do this part. Yeah. No, for me, I remember I said 3 strikes, so I'm going to give him one more chance. So ring, ring, get message. Tim, this is Russ, Century 21. Hey, I got a really important question for you. Give me a call back. Click. Now, if I left that message to you, I got a really important question for you, Tim. Give me a call back. If he's at all interested, he'll call back. If he's not calling me back. When he doesn't call back, red. Get rid of it.
What about like texting as well? Because like some people don't listen to their voicemail.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. On a text, I'm good with the text as long as he responds. But if I shoot him a text of, hey Tim, how you doing? Just checking in, hope you're doing well. Thought I'd give you an update on the market. Interest rates have bumped up. Our inventory is still low. Anything I can do for you in terms of real estate? If he doesn't respond at all, I'm going to be like, So the next month, hey Tim, just want to let you know rates have bumped down a little bit this time. The inventory's climbed a little bit. Still a great time to sell or buy. Anything I can help you with in terms of real estate? He doesn't respond. Then probably on that third text, I'm going to be, hey, Tim, got a really important question for you. You got a minute I can talk on the phone? If he doesn't respond, gone. If he says, yeah, give me a call. I call him. Now, when I call, what's my really important question that I have?
Are you still interested?
That's right.
Do you still have permission?
Yeah, essentially, I'm reestablishing permission. So I'm going to, when I call, hey, Tim, yeah, thanks for calling me back. Hey, I just wanted to check and see are you still okay with me staying in touch with you about real estate, keeping you updated on it? No? Okay, perfect. Hey, so here's the thing. See, if I'm calling looking for a no and I get told no, I'm okay with it. That's why you look for the red. See, but if I'm looking for green, if I'm trying to find it and he says, well, number one, if I'm looking for green, I'm never going to ask him, are you still okay with it? You're just going to instead do what most agents do. Hey, Tim, hope you're doing well. Or text, hope you're doing well. If I can help with anything, let me know. And you'll just keep doing that forever. And the whole time he's annoyed with it or sick of it or whatever and blocked you. So he's not even getting it anyway. But for me, that's the secret of this. Look for the red. Now, this piece of it, remember I said you have to follow the protocols. Don't forget that you're looking for the red. Many times what happens is 3 months from now, I'll run into you somewhere and I will say, hey, what's the purpose of the phone call? And you'll go, set an appointment. Or to try to find a green. Nope. See, it'll quit working for you because you won't be getting rid of people. So instead, whenever you feel like somebody's red, tackle it head on. Hey, Tim, notice that, or I might not say notice you haven't talked to me, but I might say, hey, Tim, actually, let me do it this way. Let's say he does answer the phone. So do this, Tim. I'm going to call you and answer the phone. I probably should have, I'm not going to do this now. I should have done it with people on Zoom because it would be more like we were on the phone. But be annoyed, basically. Like you answered, and then after you answered, you're like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have. Okay, so watch. Ring, ring. Hello. Hey, Tim, Russ Orchard, Century 21. How you doing?
I'm
doing good, Russ. Man, you've been calling me a lot.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. That's the purpose. See, if I'm looking for green, I would have been like, oh, I'm sorry. I just was, but because I'm looking for red, watch what I do. Yeah, hey, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually wanted to see, are you still okay with me doing that?
You know, Russ, I have your contact numbers. You're a good agent. We've worked on stuff. I'll call you if I need. How's that?
Okay, so ultimately what I hear you saying then, Tim, is that you're not seeing value in the stuff that I've been sending to you and we staying in touch about the market?
No, not this time.
Okay. Hey, perfect. No, hey, I appreciate you telling me the truth on that. And here's the thing. Yeah, if something ever changes, please give me a call.
Oh,
okay, click. Now, see, here's the thing. I'm glad. At this point, I'm hanging up the phone going, yes, I found a red. Get rid of him. Because here's the thing. He wasn't going to do anything with me. He's not going to refer anybody to me. So get rid of him and see if I can find somebody else that will. That's the magic of this thing. But the key thing is you got to stay focused on I'm looking for the red. You're not calling looking for a green. You're looking for the people who aren't going to refer to you so you can get them out of your system. And if you will do that and get 200 people in there and then stay in touch, stay in touch, stay in touch, and just keep looking. What the heck was that?
UPS card.
Oh, is that what it was? I was like, it sounded like it was up here in the ceiling. I was like, what? Oh, okay. All right. So those are the 4 protocols. Have it closed system, 200 people, and then from there, stay in touch with them. Make sure you've gotten permission to go into that select group, and then call them monthly at minimum, looking for the red. You're looking for the people you don't ever have to call again. And as you find them, then like let this, if they're in Zap or something, or you've got a hot sheet set up, let it run. That's fine. But don't consider them as part of your database. They're not part of that select group. Make sense? And it will work. It is guaranteed to work because it's just what I showed you back here on this. As you continue to get rid of the people who aren't going to do anything and keep putting more and more people in, yeah, that's right, you get more tasks. So, but it's going to work. And what should happen is over time, it gets easier and easier for you. That make sense?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So with our internet leads, if we haven't talked to them in like 10 phone calls, just put that in there as red, like they're not.
Well, so no, think of it, no, that's going to be different.
You haven't had contact.
Yeah, the people you're going to be putting in there on an internet lead is the ones you have talked to, but you can't get they won't agree to an appointment. And so when you can't get them to it, yeah, we're just not ready. No, we're not serious. We were just curious. We're just looking around. Hey, no worries. I've got a select group of people that I just stay in touch with to keep them updated on the market. Basically what it means is just as things change in the market, I'll just kind of keep you updated.
So this is the big difference between like prospecting and follow.
Correct.
Like that's where you draw the line essentially, right?
Yep.
So we follow up that 200 prospecting is all the other.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
new ones, right?
Yep.
That's what I was going to kind of clear up. Is when you're prospecting, before you move anyone into the SOI category,
yep,
potential SOI category, where like if I call someone that's an internet lead right now today, and we start getting them approved, they're not going to be ready to buy for 6 months. Those guys will stay out of that closed system category. I mean, you could add them in there as well, but they also still need to be prospected until they can be moved over to the SOI category. Because the SOI category will work on its own if you're doing that, and then the prospecting, the leads, and all the new stuff coming in is its own separate.
Yeah. So here's
kind of work together to.
Yeah. Here's how I think of it: is think of it as your prospecting is the funnel. So you're constantly still going to be prospecting, and as the people come in, then you're going to be trying to get them as they're a prospect. I'm going to be doing lead follow-up with them until they become a client. Or if I can see that that's not going to happen, then I'm going to put them over to the select group of people, or I drop them all together. But think of it as, yeah, your prospecting is to get people to become a client, or end up over here as the SOI, but even the SOI is eventually trying to get back over to client.
Definitely was calling some of my SOI too frequently when I first started.
Yeah.
I've blown up like every day. I'm like, I know yesterday. Like,
Yeah. Okay, good. What other questions?
I was kind of thinking, just like even people doing for sell-by owners and like this funnel into this, because if you in a year, like if one of these, like even for me, if I take this in a year and I have 200 people that are in that database, and then all of my prospecting database that I have of, you know, a foundation that you're laying out, is there a better way to integrate those? Like, have you ever?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Well, because I feel like it's kind of two separate systems, essentially, but I feel like if we integrated them in a different way, like you would be getting two sources of business essentially, but the SOI and this whole system that you're teaching, eventually you won't have to prospect any new prospects unless you want to supplement.
Right.
But you could grow that with your prospecting side to pull out, you know, reds and then add the greens in. But then I guess I don't know, I'm not really clear on what I'm asking, I guess.
Okay, good, because I'm not clear what you're asking.
Like I'll have to think about it more, yeah, because if you do this, you're gonna make, you know, $250,000 a year. You're working efficiently, but I guess in the meantime of you prospecting and pulling in brand new leads and, you know, new contacts and things like that, there's also a percentage of that business that you close that's separate from.
Yes.
Well, I guess
from the database.
Yeah, and I guess even without this, if you do that and, you know, you take care of people properly, then I feel like it kind of already works in the same way. But I'll have to think about it more.
Yeah. No,
because you know,
Then they become part of your sphere of influence.
well, they do.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is, without knowing what I've told you today, the top producing agents kind of naturally have that take place. Meaning, if you do a transaction with somebody and you take care of them, they become a green in your database anyway. And so, yes, the difference is most people though just keep growing that database and mailing and sending stuff to 4,000 people. So stop and think about it. If I was going to do an actual mailing once a quarter to 4,000 people at 50 cents a piece to do that is still $2,000 a quarter, but you're mailing it to 4,000 people, the majority of them are getting it and tossing it in the trash. Why not identify it down to the ones who are, you're going to be the people who will do business with you and refer. And so that's kind of there. But then what you're saying, I think, is yes, I'm still going to be prospecting this. That's the idea of this funnel to me, is this funnel could be just listed, just sold, could be for sale by owners, could be expired, could be internet leads. It doesn't really, that kind of doesn't matter. Is just, yeah, I'm going to keep working this. And while I'm doing it, that's how I'm getting people to replace into this part of the system, is I'm getting those people from these sources, any of them, to put into here. But yeah, eventually, like Tonya Messina is, I don't know if any of you know the name, but she's the one I was saying that has 97 people, does over $300,000 a year. And she does zero prospecting. All she does is works that group of 97 people. And so
it's like your SOI also jumps back.
That's right. The SOI is going to continue to, because they're going to refer people to you that then dump back into it.
I guess the little aspect of that is what, like, let's say you close somebody, they sell a house, you buy and close them. They're not going to move for another 4 years, maybe 5 years.
5, 6, 7.
Those guys will kind of go to the wayside, but you kind
Maybe.
of already built that. Maybe.
It
I
is
guess
like your barber.
But I was going to say, like the lady that cut my hair, she stayed in there because I helped them buy that townhouse, but then they referred people to, like, honestly, she was my top referring person. So for me, even though when they sold, I helped them sell too, but they were there for 5 or 6 years before that happened.
Yeah, and I guess you can only handle so many transactions a year anyways.
As a single agent.
I'm thinking like more like long-term, like,
but then when you start to grow it beyond that, you would add someone to the team that you would have them
start calling their database
Well, the way I see it,
or grow.
that's the only way you can truly become a real estate expert in someone's eyes.
Yep.
Is by having them in your SOI.
Yep.
Because then you don't have any credibility other than what you say.
That's right.
Now you have 200 people out there who are like little,
Yep.
little worker
Yeah,
bees
that's
saying you
exactly
are a
right.
real estate expert. So instead of just a website saying that you are,
Yep.
you have 200 people.
The
with
200
friends and
people
family.
that when they go to work and they hear somebody saying, I'm thinking about, oh, you got to call this guy. Like, he knows everything.
Yeah.
So to some extent, part of what you want to be communicating through social media to these people too is, hey, just negotiated this transaction. We were competing with 30 different offers. We got ours accepted. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to be doing, because then those 200 people go to work and I'm sitting at lunch with Swen and he goes, man, we've been so frustrated. We've been trying to find a property. We can't get one accepted. They go,
I know a guy.
you ought to call Brandon. Like, this guy, I've actually never even met the guy, but somehow I got on his social media. That guy's getting properties accepted every other week. So you ought to call him. Like, that's kind of what will happen. Is you're right. All of a sudden you get this army of 200 people out there doing your job for you. But it takes time to build that. So kind of here's where I'll wrap it up with. Keep in mind, it's going to take 4, 5, 6 months, maybe even up to 9. That's where I say 6 to 9 months for this to play out. So you got to get the people in there. And part of it is, just remember, it's the bamboo. You got to let the root structure get in place. But then when it does, all of a sudden, it'll take off.
So when you did this and implemented, were you getting rid of the red daily or just like weekly?
No, daily. That means, well, let me rephrase it. I was looking to get rid of people daily. I don't know that I wouldn't say I got rid of people every day, but every phone call you make, the purpose is to find out, should I keep them in or should I get rid of them? So yeah, daily you're looking for the red, but I would say it was probably more, I mean, well, here's the thing. So let's go back to Tonya that has 97 people. You pretty much got to die or move out of state to get out of her database, because she's got 97 people that consistently refer to her. So the other thing too that she started doing that I haven't trained this, so I would add maybe a 5th or a subcategory to number 2, is once a year do some type of an event for that group of people, where, you know, go rent out a movie theater and invite them to come, or, you know, go rent a swimming pool and invite them to come to the swim. I mean, something. Once a year, that's what she does. Once a year, she will go rent out a movie theater, and she may do it more than once a year to get all the people there, because she invites their kids and family or whatever. But yeah, a couple times a year, go rent out a movie theater, invite all those people, because then before the movie, you get to stand up and go, hey guys, just want to thank you for all the referrals you guys have sent to me. And so we're going to watch this movie now. And, you know, just if you have needs or you hear of anybody else, please remember me. And now watch a movie. All right. Cool deal. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Was it worth it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now go do it, because it'll work. I promise. So you guys on Zoom, before you hang up, if you have not put your first and last name in the office, and do that. And I think everyone signed in here. I think you did. If not, all right. See y'all later.
Now I'm just gonna ask the day my database.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. So for yours, I would say,
I need to do this
create
retroactively.
a-
I have to go repent.
create one that is like